What's up, Badger fans? Welcome to the call-in show. This is Freeform Friday. I got Rob up there. We got Justin. And listen, this is just a show without agenda. Wherever you guys want to take it. We just had a basketball game. Hepburn got hurt. We got recruiting stuff, portal stuff. Wherever anybody wants to take it is where we're going to take it. So, yeah, that's the show.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, let's jump into it. Bernie, I saw you earlier in here jumping in, so we're going to start with you. Air Raid Bucky, I see you in the queue. And again, really, wherever you guys want to take this show, let's take it. What's up, Bernie? It's good to see you again, man.
Look at the specs on. Sun never sets on the cool.
Yeah,
What's
man.
up, man?
I'm rocking the AJ Storr hat right here. A big 29 career high for that young man. I really thought he was going to hit the 30-point. Let's start with him. What a big addition he is. This offense looks so different with AJ Storr and John Blackwell. Like, right, Blackwell, that's like a diamond in the rough, man. Like, I did not, this is what I thought we'd see from him in a year or two, and we're getting it immediately. And so, he led the team in rebounding tonight off the bench. He's going to do-it-all guy. And then Storr, man, just, if he can hit that 20-point mark week in and week out, wow, man. This team, I'm loving this team, right? We went to Wall and Crowell in the paint. This is what you wanted to see tonight, I felt like, right? Chicago State just got that win against Northwestern, and you can see why with that team. They're aggressive. They're not scared. They do not back down. But I'm happy about this Badgers team and ready to start Big Ten conference play.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good game. I like to see us clean up. We didn't look super crisp in the last game. So this one, it looked like we cleaned up a lot of things and played a lot more efficient. And Storr, clearly, if you get that type of effort from him, like, we're not going to have him next year if this is the type of player he's going to be the remainder of the season.
Yeah.
Because he's scoring easily right now. Like, he's not really working for it. It's just kind of there.
It's definitely possible. Really quick before we go on, everybody tune into the show. We don't do these a lot, but if you're watching, I know we had some people recently join. This is a call-in show, so I'm going to put the invite in the chat. If you guys want to call into the show and talk about whatever you want to talk about, feel free. That invite is there. I got to be honest, guys. Like, I came out of this game just terrified for Hepburn. Like, once he got hurt and went down, I basically stopped paying attention to anything, and I started thinking, like, worst case scenario, best case scenario. What happens if he's out a month? Like, it looked like a groin. Justin, you talked about that was my first thought too. That can be problematic, especially for our point guard. That's all I took out of this game. Outside of Storr, Bernie, you're totally right. Outside of Storr scoring almost 30, that's what I took out, and I'm just kind of terrified that's a real injury.
Yeah, that he's the one guy that they really can't afford to lose. Like, it's understated how impressive he's been at running this team this season, and I've said it numerous times. He has kept this team so disciplined and under control in the early season, which is why we played as well as we have. They've really struggled to an extent in previous seasons with, controlling pace and things like that. And they've been so much better lately. And because of that, they're in such a good place. If Chucky goes down, they don't really have somebody who's a tailor-made fix for that. Like, we could probably bide a little time, but it's going to be disjointed because I don't like as well as we seem to play when he even comes off the floor. It's really hard to think that that's going to be stretched out for an extra 30 minutes, without him out there, and we're going to play clean basketball that whole time. There's going to be some slop that ends up happening.
Yeah. Where are the guys who said, "Oh, this team has a whole bunch of depth"? That's what I want to know.
Well, there's very few teams out there that have point guard depth,
right? Like, I've continually said, and listen, I could be wrong on this. It is what it is, but I've continually said I don't think this team has the depth that people continue to make it out to be. I could be wrong on that, but I think it's like 6 deep and 7 if Connor starts balling.
Who do you think takes over if Chucky's out? Do you think they'd put Blackwell at point?
I think it's Klesman.
You do? Okay.
Yeah, I think it's Klesman.
I think that's likely too. I just was curious because Blackwell seems like he's almost capable of doing it though too.
Yeah, I think it's Klesman.
Does McGee get any of those minutes?
Yeah. He'd probably pick up some minutes, but I don't think that they put him out there as the lead guard.
Yeah.
Rob, where are you at on this game? Watching this?
Man, I don't know. It's like with Chucky going down, it's just hard because it's like it's a good game. You get Storr having a good game, but it's like I said, it's like you got to have that point guard depth. McGee, you get him from Green Bay. It's like is that one of those things where it's really going to be the best move there? Like, should we have gotten someone else in the portal? Maybe a little bit better backup point guard. So that's where I'm at. It's like it's a good win, but and the fire guard train slowing down a little bit. But from conductor JB, he said if they don't make the Sweet 16, it keeps going.
Oh goodness gracious! We'll see if JB shows up.
It's like Beetlejuice. You have to say it 3 times.
No, don't say it 3 times. I think. So I think Klesman takes over. What does that mean? Because that causes a ripple effect, though, right? So if Klesman were to take over, and then Blackwell obviously probably moves into that starting. Because now you're opening up other spots, right? And then this also means you need Connor to play now, right? Like you need Connor to play 10 to 15 good minutes, not bad minutes.
Yeah.
No short leash on him,
right? Because what's the other alternative?
I think what ends up happening is you end up having to play what's his name? The other point guard more. McGee has to be out there more. Like that's what happens if Connor's not productive. McGee at least gives you defense.
Yeah.
And you have to play that and decide we're going to just accept the fact that it's going to be limited offensively. McGee's not terrible, but he's not going to probably give you more than like 5 points, which I mean, it is what it is, but if you're getting torched on defense like Connor does at times, and he did look better tonight, but he at times has looked just unplayable defensively. Like he's been targeted by teams the second he hits the floor in a lot of these games, and he gets beat.
Bo Dragon says, Klesman taking over what point guard? What are you smoking? What's the alternative, Bo, if Hepburn's not playing? Like, who is your alternative?
You split the ball handling between Max and McGee. That's really your only option. And then you hope Connor gets hot, right? Is his back still bothering him?
I think he's good. I think this partially is driven by an effort thing on defense. Connor, going back to high school with him, more likely than not was a guy who was allowed to float and not necessarily play hard defense because he was such a heavy scorer in high school for his team. Like he was their offense. So when you get to this level and now it's a little bit different, like that's not the type of game that you can play in the Big Ten and get away with, unless you're at like Michigan or something like that, where it's, that there's not really a standard of like expected execution on that end of the floor. Like the inmates kind of run the asylum, it feels like, on some of the teams that are in the Big Ten, where it's like, you're allowed to just go out there and be a chucker. And that's nothing good's going to come of that.
Zach Bartz. Bo Dragon says Blackwell's the ball handler, Klesman isn't. I don't think Blackwell's as advanced as a ball handler as people maybe think he is at this point in his career.
He's comfortable, but I don't think he's a guy you want to see pressured.
Guys, I want to kick this around to you while we're all here. One of the things I was going to ask about it, we're out of the non-conference, right? We're about to start Big Ten play with the basketball team. What are you comfortable saying about this team? Like maybe a hot take, a cold take, whatever it is. What's a tent pole that you'll take on this team and say, yeah, I think this team is this. And one of mine has always been, I don't think this team has the depth people have. I think it does. I still think that's true. Okay. What's a hot take you have on this team after non-conference is over, going into Big Ten play? What's a stand you're willing to take?
I'll go up flat out and say I think they're going to be a top 4 team in the Big Ten. I think that's at a minimum. Like I think they've played clean and well enough for that. They're going to have a couple hiccup games probably during the course of the season, but I've yet to see, other than Illinois and Purdue, teams that I am afraid of in the regular season in the Big Ten.
Robert Bernie.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I would just say they're going to be tested in the Big Ten. That's going to be the thing. It's like, because it's going to come down to rebounds. That was the thing with Marquette. It's like if you can out rebound teams, they got it. It's if Crawl and Wall are able to play aggressively, that's when they do good. But if you get anybody big that slows them down, their offense really sputters. So that's going to be my take. If they go against good bigs, they're going to struggle.
Yeah, that is an issue for them.
My take is I think this is a Sweet 16 team. Just as long as Chucky's not missing significant time here, we can be a top 4 team in the Big Ten, which could translate into being a 4 seed, in the Big Dance, in my opinion. And I think they have to do it. Have the ability to do it. Hepburn just needs to come back. We just got to pray, hope that he's going to heal over this 10, 11 days or whatever it is of rest. And if he can come back and keep playing, this team is more dynamic. The depth, right? We might be a little bit deeper than last year, but the type of team it is, we match up better. It's more athletic. I think this is a Sweet 16. I watch a lot of college hoops and Providence, a team that we lost to. Their only 2 losses are to a 9-3 Kansas State team and to Oklahoma, I believe. They're a top 12 team. So those are the only 2. Tennessee that's
beat around
16.
Marquette.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they knocked around Marquette, right? So the teams that we've lost to, and we've battled with a couple of them, I think this team is going to keep getting better. Blackwell is a player that's going to keep getting better, all on that Hepburn health now. But my take is I agree. This is a top 4 Big Ten team, and we're going to make the Sweet 16 this year. That's my take, and I'd put money on it this
Let's
year
go.
if I was a betting man.
I like it.
No, I love it. I'll say this: if they stay healthy, I think that is very possible. And you can say that about a lot of teams. I think our margin for injury is a little lower, but yeah, I'm totally there with you. Plug what you got going on, Brady, because I got to get Caleb on the show too. But you have a bunch of stuff going on. You have your own kind of pod. You have a few other social media things. What do you got going on here that people can follow you on?
Me?
Yes, you.
Oh yeah, sorry, man. My hearings. Yeah, Army time, right? That's where the hearing problems come from.
Oh,
but
good.
yeah, I have a podcast that goes live on Sunday mornings on IE Sports Radio. Your direct feed for all that is sports. I am supposed to say that after every time I say that, but my show is Big Cheese Sports, man, and I talk all Wisconsin sports. Big Cheese, right? That's what I refer to as Wisconsin. I call it the Big Cheese, just like we call New York City the Big Apple. You come check me out there. Then I'm also work with Game On Wisconsin. I do a show called Coast to Coast Packers with Umar Desai, and that's just strictly Packers. And then I also work with a group called Pro Sports Fans, and that's a thing I do called Cheesehead Till I'm Dead. And this is kind of a live stream reaction show for Packers games. But you can find me on TikTok. You can find me, on Instagram, on X. You're going to find me on under Bernie Bango or Big Cheese Sports. I got accounts for both of those. But yeah, I just talk sports all the time. And this is one of my favorite ones to watch and listen to.
And your swagger is off the charts. That is a great.
Thanks, man. No, it's I got out of the military after 21 years, and I'm just like, I'm not going to shave. I'm not going to cut my hair. I'm going to live a life like the Big Lebowski, man. So I'm just kicking back, having a good time, man. Rolling Jays and listen to CCR, baby. I'm out here on the West Coast, Washington State. So
you got a Caucasian sitting there next to you.
Yeah. No, I'm actually more of a tea drinker. I actually quit the alcohol. I actually quit the alcohol recently. But I wish Caucasians were my favorite. And I did work at a bowling alley for a few years too. So
well,
I got that connection.
As always, man, you are most welcome and fun to talk to. Also does great content on TikTok, which I've been privy to. So go check out Bernie. Bernie, thank you so much. We're going to get Caleb on the show. As always, my friend, you are the best.
Thanks for the time.
Shirt
Caleb, shirt or no shirt? What are we doing here?
What do you think? Like, come on. This is for my guy, Chris. This is for my guy, Chris, in the Discord.
The NC-17 rating kicks up.
Don't pan down. Don't pan down.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Dude, so thoughts on recruiting or basketball? Where do you want to go?
Let's go basketball, honestly.
How worried are you about if Chucky Hepburn misses a significant amount of time? How bad is this team, or how good is this team?
I mean, in the handshake line, he looked to be walking fine, but
his leg looked pretty bandaged up there.
I don't know.
I'm sure. Well, they were going to ice him the second it happened. Like,
I think he could have got the layup still, though. Like, he was right there.
You got to finish, Chucky. Come on.
Like, I think he should have gone for it, honestly.
Yeah. Dude,
what's up?
No, go ahead. Yeah, finish your thought.
I was going to say, without Chuck, when I see Carter Gilmore out there, that does not make me feel good, let me tell you. And so he'd play a little more, I'd assume, if Chuck's out. Get a little deeper into the rotation. And, I'd like to see Connor play more, though, so that could help.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. If Connor's defense comes around and the shooting ticks up, like, he does a lot of nice things, but it really, that's what it's going to come down to with him. If he can give that effort there and be a just competent defender, he's going to be out on the court. You look like you got something to say there, Caleb.
I was going to say, I don't know. He's been getting toasted for 2 years straight now, so I don't know if it's going to come around.
It's so weird when I watch him. It just seems like he wants to play up on his man, and he just doesn't seem to have a good feel for like the level of athleticism of the guy across from him more often than not. It's not necessarily he can't play defense. It's that he just gauges what he's just not good at figuring out what the guy is capable of across from him.
I don't know. I feel like he's always on his heels, and he's just always one step behind them, and then they catch it, and they're already in front of him on the drive. And it honestly feels like
he should play a step further off and just be like, I'm going to give you jumpers, and if you're going to shoot over me, fine, but like, just don't let him get to the rim. Like, you're like, also
thinking that Ohio State Big Ten tournament game last year, he got shredded.
Good coaches are going to do that to him every time.
Well, that film is there now.
Yeah.
All right, let me take a quick sec. Rob, do you mind if I pop you off for a sec because Kedrick is in the chat? But give me your last thoughts here before we didn't talk recruiting. What are your last thoughts on the recruiting class? I know you're in the Discord about it.
Yeah.
Are you on the Rajiv scale of stoked, or are you on the little more realistic scale of stoked?
I mean, I'm stoked, and like I said, we're still grading on a curve with Fickle coming in. So there, I mean, you got to say that this is close to an A class. I mean, one of the big things you notice, 5 offensive linemen speaks to what they thought of the group that they had. I think Mike Brown, when did he know he was leaving? Because only one wide receiver, I know that's been talked about. And then the running backs, I'm really liking that class. I know there's big talk about Atuka, but Jones is still my guy. Slippery through the hole. Like, he gets it. About one cut, I think that's what you need in this offense. You watch his tape, he's running out of the gun, just like this offense is going to be doing. So I think he's going to be able to kind of plug and play right there.
I agree with you there.
See, I think Ryan and I both agree that compared to the previous staff's work, this is an A class. Like, there's no denying that. This is a definitive step up from what it was. We have to look at it from the perspective of what is this class in the larger scheme of if we want to compete for the top of the Big Ten, and putting this as a B class or a B plus class, that's about where it is. In that, when you look at the teams they're competing with, they're behind every one of those teams. Now, it's not probably fair to say that they need to be ahead of like a Michigan or a Penn State, but they can close that gap a little bit further, I think, and that's where you start getting to the A classes, because we have to grade this on the stance of do we feel like this is their ceiling? Because I don't think it is. I think the staff is capable.
Yeah. Like I said, I think
let me pause here quick because I got 3 people in the queue now. And I don't know if you guys saw me. I was while we were live, trying to make a 5th camera slot. I got to figure that out. So I apologize. I will do that next time, I promise. But Rob, as always, you were the best, my friend. Thank you for everything you do. Thank you for the time in the Discord. And let's definitely chat next time.
Oh, yeah. Congratulations on the 6,000.
Thank you.
Don't forget to hit that like button. Hit that subscribe and the bell so you get alerted when we got videos. Because Ryan doesn't schedule them, so you got to be ready when he pops down on live.
Let's do this, though, and I greatly appreciate that, my friend. But Justin's on the chat right now. There's 116 people watching. Go subscribe to the Bucky Report, and let's get them to 1,000. Let's focus the energy there.
I have no qualms with that. That's the goal to get there by the end of the year. We're at 940 right now.
Let's get the energy there. I know we can do it. All right, Robert.
All right.
Happy holidays, my friend. All right, let's get Kendrick in, sorry. And we got JB, we got Logan in the queue as well. Thank you for joining, man. I want to start here. You were in the arena. You were there. What's the latest on Chucky?
Can you hear me, first of all?
Yeah,
Yep,
we can hear you.
Okay. Still here, actually. Sounds like everything is fine.
Just tweaked it a bit.
Yeah. Greg Gard said Chucky was in the locker room walking around. Seemed like it was fine. He didn't. I think typically, if Gard is at least like questioning that a player will be available for the next game, he'll tip off on that some way or another and just be like, we don't know. In this, he seemed pretty straightforward of like, yeah, he's going to be sore, but to remember the next game isn't for over 10
Yeah, he's got a good chunk.
What was it? Did he like pull a hammy, or do we know what it was?
I guess a groin.
Yeah,
He grabbed the inside of his leg.
Yeah, officially they're just saying lower body, but if you look at where it was, he's grabbing like that upper thigh inside. So yeah, I'm not particularly worried. I was more worried at first just because of the urgency that it looked like they were attending to him. But there's also just a level of that's what they have to do. So yeah, I'm not particularly worried. I think he's going to be back for the game against Iowa.
Caleb, before we get off, because I got to get JB and Logan in as well.
No, I got you.
Give me any last thoughts, and Kendrick, you probably missed it, but this is
Last
shirtless
thoughts?
Caleb up here.
Yeah, what's up? I was gonna say one thing I want to say was the 2025 class. I was looking at like the guys he's on right now. It's like 4-star, 6'1" corners, 6'4", 320 nose tackles. You know, if you can get on some of them, 3-4 years, we're gonna be competing real well.
Got to do it. Like, you got to keep stacking it. That's the one thing we talked about. You can't land one good class and then not stack that up with probably an even better class if you want to take this program where it wants to go.
Every
I don't know
guy.
if you guys,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I don't know if you guys saw like that Maximus Steinecker or whatever. He's going crazy in the recruiting and Instagram. He's all in. That guy's all in.
Him and Lambert are big time.
No, I love them. That's what we do.
They're a lot of fun. I talked to it was Heiberger, and I said, "What's so special about those two, Pat and Max?" And Heiberger said, "Max they just love their job. Like they just love their job, and it's infectious."
Do they not?
If you got like Max on there, that'd be a nice guest on the pod, Max.
Two very smart guys, but did they not come across like from Dumb and Dumber, like the two guys? Like when you see them in the tuxes for I can just picture one smacking the other across the back of the legs with the cane.
All right, Caleb. Thank you so much for joining in. Appreciate you not taking the time to put a shirt on.
Yeah, I had to.
Living up to the standard. Happy holidays, my friend. Thank you so much.
No, you too. Thank you.
All right, let's get JB on for better or worse. Let's see what happens here.
That's my nemesis.
JB,
First of all, I'm out in the Humvee and it's freezing out here, and you had me on hold. Come on, man. What's up with that?
you don't get to just jump the line. The only people that can do that are freaking Dustin.
I'm in. I can see, dude. I'm JMFB. Anyway, look. See this? This is like a 1970s Wisconsin Badgers towel. So I got a backdrop. I can't hear you guys.
No.
You're there. Oh, okay. Okay, so here's the deal. First, actually, I want to thank officially online to all the Badger faithful. I'd like to thank Justin and Ryan for my Terrell Fletcher card. I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Second thing is, I'm in the Humvee because Ryler's asked me to do this. I got guess what jersey I have on? Whose jersey I have?
I see an 8. Is that a Monte Ball?
Monte Ball.
Of course, man. I'm in Duluth, man.
Let's go.
Got my headband, and I have hanging in here my Easy E mask.
Nice.
Hey, let me do this, because we started off the show with this. Kendrick, you missed it. JB, you weren't here. Non-conference is done, right? What's a take you're willing to take on this team? Like, where are you? Like, what's a hot take maybe you hit and say, hey, I really think we didn't know this at the beginning of the year, but now I'm sure about this.
You're talking about the basketball team?
Yep. We're not talking about the Lou. We're talking about the basketball team.
All right, yeah, I want to tell you something. you've said in the past, and I think Justin did too, and Believe did, that winning the Big Ten championship in basketball is a big deal, right? And that winning the Big Ten tournament and winning the tournament's a big deal, right? And that means a lot, and even regardless of that is a successful season, okay? And like that's like the barometer. And I'm gonna prove to you right now that you don't actually believe that. All right.
I know I don't believe that. I said that. I'm the one that's actually been against that.
Okay, so Justin and I are on the same side.
I think NCAA.
Wait, really quick. Are we talking Big Ten regular season or Big Ten?
I'm just going to give you two scenarios. Okay. Scenario number one. Okay. The Badgers go 25-5 or 25-7, whatever it adds up to. They win the Big Ten tournament and they lose in the first round of the NCAA tournament. Or option number two, they go 18-14. They lose in the first round of the Big Ten tournament and go to the Elite Eight and end up with a 22-7 record or whatever, or 22 and whatever that is, 14 record, whatever. Which one you want?
I mean, I'm saying the second because I don't give a dang about the Big Ten tournament.
Exactly, Ryan.
Yeah.
Well,
No. But Ryan's take was always
the question.
The Big Ten regular season.
The regular season. Thank you.
Yes.
Big Ten regular season, however you want it, and the Big Ten championship tournament, both of them, or Elite Eight, with an 18-14 record that ends up at 22-14 or whatever ends up at.
To me, it matters more. You have to win the Big Ten regular season and the postseason tournament, or at least be one of the top three teams in the regular season and win the Big Ten tournament, because I think the degree of difficulty kicks up when you get to that tournament.
But Justin,
unless you're a dominant team, there are very few teams.
Would you rather have that, or would you rather be in the?
I want the Elite Eight.
Of course.
Well, yeah, I would take the Elite Eight every time because there's far more national prestige associated with that.
Ryan, which one would you rather have?
Let's point out the obvious. The obvious is if you are a team that wins the Big Ten regular season, by the way, there is a difference. I don't give a crap about the conference tournament. The regular season to me means something. I don't give a crap about the conference tournament. But
okay, so regular season, fine.
Yeah, if you are a team that wins a regular season, you are also a team much more likely to go deep into March. So yes, I would rather have.
That's not true.
Wait, let me finish. Let me finish, Lou. I would much rather have the Elite Eight. Yes, however, March Madness is a crapshoot, right? It's a total crapshoot. So yeah, I would rather have the Elite Eight, but you're looking at results after they happen. And
I'm just saying that the point of the reason why I'm saying this is Guard is gone and won regular season tournaments, regular season championship, and won Big Ten tournaments, and he hasn't won. He hasn't gotten past the second round of the NCAA tournament since his second year of coaching. He hasn't had a second round win. We haven't been to he went to 2 Sweet 16s. The first 2 seasons he was there with Bo's guys, not his guys. Well, I understand he was an assistant coach, but those were both. The head coach is the guy, right? We don't blame.
Let's let Kendrick jump in on here too.
This is season 9.
I have a lot of weird thoughts about this. So, a weird background fact about me is my dad went to Kansas. So college basketball in my blood quite a bit.
Boo!
Yeah. Enjoy being 7-9. Did you lose to Illinois again today or something? But I there's a lot of fun about winning in March, right? Some of the best basketball memories come from winning in March. But ultimately, if I'm thinking about this in a weird, selfish kind of way, do I want to sacrifice having a real middling back and forth 500 season through January, February, the first week of March, 2.5 months of my life? Do I just want to go win, loss, or win the Big Ten title, or have 2 or 3 really fun weekends in March? I'd rather have 2.5 months that don't suck, where I can watch basketball and win the Big Ten title.
I think, so first off, I want to weigh on this a little bit, because I think part of it is number one, you're not making it probably to the Elite Eight if you're an 18-14 team. It's
exactly.
But if you're saying if you have the record of 25-7, 25-7, would you rather play well and win the Big Ten, or finish third in the Big Ten and go to the Elite Eight? I think that's a valid question. because I think I would rather have that Elite Eight run and have a good team. Because number one, and I do look at it from a national perspective and how it's probably viewed by recruiting. Recruits look at it and say, I want to make that deep run in March. I want to be on the big stage doing it. And this is where I'll preface that it's a little bit different than we take the look at it. Outside of Wisconsin, if you look at this and we go to the NCAA tournament bracket, we could look at that bracket and we would probably have no clue who actually won each conference, unless we look at a team that's like a number one overall, Kansas or whoever, or Duke.
It doesn't matter.
And we're like, they probably won it because they have the best record in the country. But for the most part, none of us know. Like, I don't know who won these conferences unless it's an at-large build, like the Mountain West Conference or something like that. It's probably a one-bid league or whatever, and you're looking at it like, okay, they probably won their league.
But I think a lot of that implies that national prestige, as you put it, is sticky. Think about VCU. We're not talking about VCU, even though Shaka took them to the Final Four. Think about Butler. Butler's a good program, but they're not winning the Big O. Remember them for doing what? Nothing in the last 6 years.
No, but we still remember them for winning the. I mean, you can't hold it against a program for having kind of like a lightning in a bottle with a coach and having that coach move on. Like, there's going to be tons of programs in college basketball that have that situation where they have a great coach who one-ups to a better program, and that there's very few teams that are the pinnacle of a prestige where a coach isn't going to jump up.
Okay. Let's take Texas, for example.
Change it from Elite Eight. Change it from Elite Eight to Sweet 16. Does that make a difference to you? They say we get to the Sweet 16.
I don't think people really remember Sweet 16 runs.
No, they don't.
Princeton went to the Sweet 16 last year. And everybody watched that thing. I get it.
That's different. They also beat number one UCLA when they did that.
But right,
so that's a little different.
But that's what matters to people. Nobody cares if Princeton had 25 wins last year or 18 wins last year.
But,
all they care about was they went to the Sweet 16. That's a big deal.
Nobody's going to look at Wisconsin and say, we're not a little engine that good.
Ryan asked me a question. You asked me a question, right? The question was that you asked me was, what would it take for me to jump onto the guard train? Oh my God. But what would it take me to jump onto the guard train? And what it would take is get to the damn Sweet 16.
But he's done that.
He did it in 2015 or whatever, without the players he's recruited. We have recruiting classes of 111, 134, 172. It's ridiculous, dude. We're the University of Wisconsin in Madison.
Objectively looking at this team is built to make a Sweet 16 run. I can't say beyond that, but this is a team that is very well put together to make a run to the Sweet 16.
Really quick, let's pause here because I do. We can go on this rabbit hole the whole night. I do want to kick it back to the original question of what's the stance you're willing to take on this team right now?
Okay. Can I
answer that question?
I actually have an answer.
Okay, let's go.
Before the season, my hot take was that this team was going to be able to improve by 4 wins in the Big Ten, which, frankly, I think is a big number. Some people told me it wasn't. The difference between 4 wins last year in the standings where Wisconsin ended would have taken them from the bottom half to second in the league, just behind.
Yeah. Were they 10-12 last year? Was that their record?
That sounds right.
So they would switch to 14-8 then?
They were 9-11. So we've taken them up to 13-7, which would have given them an outright second place. So I think that's a big jump. I feel pretty steadfast in that take now that this is a team that can improve by 4 wins, if not more, because I think
I think 14-6 is where I kind of had them once the season started.
Right, but before the season started, I had thought more of programs like Michigan State is one. I had thought more of Michigan proper University of, which has a lot going on and a lot of surprise Juwan Howard issues. Who could have predicted this?
He's such a stable individual. It's shocking to see that his team is unstable.
And so now Wisconsin is the second highest ranked team at KenPom in the Big Ten. This is a team that I don't think is going to flirt with beating Purdue for the Big Ten title. I just think Purdue has mismatch issues in the way that this team just can't handle. Even if you think Purdue is gettable, this team doesn't have anybody who can compete with Zach Edey inside. I don't think we need to discuss more than that. But I think this is a team. Yeah, I think this is a team that very much can shoot for second place in the Big Ten. I think I'm disappointed at this point if they finish outside the top 4.
Yeah, that's a good take. I think I came into the season saying this could be a top 4 team. Now I think it's like a top 3, top 2 team.
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
we're going to battle it out with us and Illinois are going to fight over that second place.
Yeah, I think the difference is saying we could do this to we should do this, which is a marked improvement from I think where expectations were 2 months ago.
Hey, really quick, Logan, I tried to add you in. I'm still working on that, so I see you there. I am trying to get you in. More basketball talk. I did throw this comment up there. Somebody wanted to talk a little about Cole LaCrue. JB, if you want to do that. I'm gonna mute his mic. I was just kidding. We're not gonna do that.
20 minutes later, you come back. You still there?
No, his mic is muted. We're not talking about Cole LaCrue. I want to talk about Storr though. Let's talk about Storr. 29 points tonight. I'm gonna unmute you, JB. We're not talking about Cole LaCrue. Just Storr 29 points tonight. I have a bit of an interesting thought on Storr. He's more skilled than I thought he was, but he's honestly not quite as explosive athletically as I thought he would be. Is that weird? Or am I seeing, when I see him dunk, when I see him explode to the rim, I thought it would be more Khalil Iverson based on what I heard previously, different body type, but more of that vertical explosion. I don't think he is quite as much of that, but I think he's more skilled than I thought he would be.
I think the explosiveness is there. I think you and I talked about him a little bit and why I don't think that he's going to ever be truly a high level, or at least not look like a high level defender. He just doesn't, his feet don't move like that. He's a long strider. So when he moves out on the court, his feet he looks like he's a step slow, but he recovers so fast because his stride is so large that he tends to cover the distance. He's not a guy that looks like he's going to do something and all of a sudden he just goes by somebody and he's up in the air and you're like, whoa, how did he get that far past? And from a difference of there, Blackwell's kind of the opposite. You look at him, when he took that rebound and went out on the break on his own, he looked explosive. He looked like he was flying up the court on the dribble. And I was kind of, I think that's just what we're used to seeing from a guy who's that quickness. He just kind of glides. And I think that's why. It just looks different than what you expect it to look. But he's very explosive.
He's very athletic. I guess I need to couch it with what I thought it would be. It's just a tiny bit different than that. He's very, very explosive. But
I think I agree with you a little bit, Ryan, where I think I think it's just if he was 5% better, he's surefire in NBA draft prospects. But there's just a couple of moments here or there when you watch him play that you're like, oh, if he does this one thing a little bit better, just from an athletic standpoint, you're like, this is a surefire NBA draft prospect. Think back to the first half of tonight's game. He gets down the ball one-on-one on a fast break, takes that funny little Euro step, but can't finish it. There's another moment in the game where he also gets down in the lane, has the ball, goes to dunk over a guy, slam it home, but can't quite finish that. It's he can get up and set himself up for so many of these hyper athletic plays, but lacks that last 5% to just finish it. That's you see so much there that it's almost intriguing in a way where you think, is there some way to unlock it? Or is this just he's just hitting that last level of natural ability here that sadly there's not much else you can do about, but he's so exciting. He's so fun to watch. And these moments are still fun to watch because you still he makes you believe that he can do it just with the way Justin puts it, that he glides across the floor.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that he's maxed his body out? I think that he's a guy who looks like he's got some development left in him.
I think so too. I do.
Look as built as some of the guys that we see that are getting ready to go NBA. And he's not a Johnny Davis where he's that thin kind of build. He's a guy who looked like he can pack on 15 pounds.
He's muscular.
Yeah.
What it is he's not Finley and he's not Decker and he's not Johnny Davis. You want him to be that, right? You want him to be the guy that just takes over the game and gets to the rim and he loses himself. He's kind of uncoordinated sometimes, and he doesn't have that it factor. He's just not that guy.
I don't know if I agree with that. I think you look at him. I think you look at him as he's a guy who's trying to feel his way into this roster, who's coming into a team that he was not. And I think it's not just that coming into the roster. It's also understanding what Greg Gard expects of him being out on the court. It's very different than what he was being asked to do at St. John's.
So you think the style and the scheme is affecting him?
I think he's learning how to be a better player is what it is.
Yeah.
Like there's so many things that he's being asked to do that are different from what he had to last year.
And I think
what is he being asked to do that he didn't have to do last?
They wanted to be a much better defender. They wanted to be a better rebounder at his size. He averaged like 2.9 boards last year. He's a guy who should be getting 5 or 6. So
you would rather him be a more well-rounded player than be a 20-point dominant player.
I think if he wants to be in the NBA, he's going to have to be a guy who can average 5 or 6 rebounds a game at 6'7", or they're going to look at him like a guy you better be able to dunk on everybody.
For what it's worth, and you can argue whether we think this is John Blackwell or it's AJ Storr. I think there's a debate to be had there. But
I love Chucky, by the way.
I asked Greg Gard about AJ Storr, his performance tonight compared to the game against Robert Morris specifically, and Gard said that AJ Storr is the most improved player on his roster over the last 2 months, and I think that's perfectly reasonable.
Over the last what? You said over the last
over the last 2 months. Over the last 2 months.
Oh, 2 months.
Season, essentially. And so, like, if you're worried that he's not getting his opportunities enough out there because of the guard system or whatever, those opportunities are coming because Greg Gard really likes what he sees out of him. And
I think his decision making got much better since the early part of the season. His shot selection is so much better than it was.
That was exactly the premise of the question I asked Greg Gard tonight. Was after the Robert Morris game, Greg Gard had said, AJ Storr, his quote was, he's learning what a good shot is. And then tonight, when I asked Greg Gard about it, he said, I have to go back and grade each of the shots, but I can't really remember watching him take a bad shot tonight. So he seems really, really happy with his development, what he's doing, and he's gonna be fun to watch in the Big Ten, I think, against real competition. We're gonna learn a lot about him really, really quickly, and I think it's gonna be good things.
Well, I think you have to give Gard credit. Like Gard has this way of never getting credit for things, right? Like he gets criticism in places, but you rarely see people talk about. You talk about the improvement with AJ Storr. Gard holds people accountable. Like he'll get after somebody. He'll say, "You got to play better."
100%.
He's old school in that way. By the way, that doesn't always work great. Like, there's pros and cons to that, but when it works, you have to be able. If you're going to be honest and consistent, you have to be able to give him credit when it does work. You've seen Storrs play kick up, right? You tell me that's not related to Greg Gard saying, "Hey, we need to get better."
But it's not a question of whether he can help this one player in this one circumstance get better in certain parts of his game. It's about how good is he with the team. How good is the team? Is this team better? Is the team in a better position today than it was 9 years ago? And the answer is no.
Well,
we didn't make the tournament last year. We don't have a whole lot of we don't have the kind of talent we had back then.
But we also had a Hall of Fame coach. Like, not most teams don't reload with another Hall of Fame coach.
But Justin, he's been there 9 years, man.
I'm not arguing that. He has, like, we're getting to the point where he has to start reaching towards his ceiling, and I think that you can see signs of that.
I mean, but don't you think
bringing in a guy like Storr,
like Free Tag, right? Everybody's excited about Free Tag. He's been here 9 years. Free Tag should be the third top player that he's recruiting. We should have 2 other guys higher rated than Free Tag.
Okay,
we're Wisconsin, man. This is Big Ten ball.
I'm not going to argue that. From a recruiting standpoint, he has underperformed, but he has made the changes and is starting to show results. We have to also give him credit for the fact that he has changed and that he's starting to do better with that. I mean, it's obvious.
But like he said, like he was saying, 4 games better, right? So what we were, I don't know, what were we last year? 17 wins, 16 wins.
The tournament, I think it was 17 and 11 or something like that, was it?
Or so
12.
Okay, so 21 wins. I mean, second round.
Because we don't have the time on this show. We could do a show dedicated to litigating Bo Ryan, Greg Gard. We really could. I would enjoy it.
I mean,
we did a lot of this before.
A couple questions.
No, I'm just saying any coach that's been around 9 years. It's 9 years in the Big Ten,
Nick says Gard deserves credit for getting Storr. I think he should have gotten one more depth transfer. Someone in here said Storr is going to be 3 good years in college and then be an NBA bench guy. I mean, that's a win if he does that. Like,
he's still in the NBA.
That's an absolute win for Greg Gard, the Badgers, and Storr. I want to shift here to recruiting really quick. So we talked a lot of basketball. I know we're not going to be able to keep everybody forever. Kedrick is still at the arena. I had Brian Smith on the other day, or today actually, the show's up tomorrow. He said receiving recruiting is an F. This was a disaster of a recruiting year for the Badgers on the receiving front. I want to kick it around to you guys. His premise was, if you're going to be Wisconsin, and he was saying, if you want to be the program that takes the next step, getting just a Kyan Johnson is not nearly good enough. Kicking around the horn, see what you guys think. Curious on your comments on, is that a failure of a recruiting class at receiver?
I think based off of what they brought in last year, I think it's really hard to say, to take that point of view. Like, what are they supposed to do? Have a 25-person receiver room? I mean, at some point you have to look at what you have internally and grow from it. And I think that's kind of the approach that they took. I think there's certain guys, just because we didn't see it on the field this year and don't think it's there, doesn't mean that the staff doesn't see it every day in practice. Doesn't mean that there's other things there that they're like, it's going to click. These guys look like they're getting there. We see it. It could be a guy like Burrows this next year who ends up taking a step. He's showed some nice things at the end of last season. Vinny Anthony started to show some things. But I will say this. Do I think we needed another body in this recruiting class? I do. But I will say that I think Kyan Johnson was a guy who, as a slot receiver, I'd probably put him in the B+, A- category for a slot receiver. Like, he's an extremely talented guy for that role. He has very good ball skills. He's quicker than you'd like. He's very elusive. He is a guy who is very underrated that probably should have had a lot more big-time offers than what he had.
I mean, I would say I like the guys in the room. I mean, I'm not that upset about it. And the reason why is I'm pretty high on Brooks and McIntosh. McIntosh is a 6'5" guy that runs I don't know, it was like a 4.5 40 or some crazy number, especially for his size.
He's a 4.4 guy, I think.
And he's got great hands, and I mean, I don't know. There's nothing not to like about him, and he's just been hurt, and Brooks the same thing. Brooks was a beast in spring, and all the way up until he got hurt. So I feel like those two guys are good. If you're not going to bring in studs, just bringing in guys that are 6'4" and 6'5" that can't catch, or they can't run a route, or they can't track a football, just because they're big, doesn't really help you, And so I actually, I mean, I know I'm kind of the negative Nancy of the group, but I like Fickle, and I actually like what they're doing, and I think that it's just going to take some time. But I think, and the other thing is like, and I know you guys, I'm obviously, I don't want to bring up Mizzou people, but just as an example, Luther Burden, the year before last, didn't put up good numbers, and when they got rid of Lovett, who went to Georgia, and they put him in the slot, he's the top 5 wide receiver this year. The problem is we got 5 slot receivers.
JP, you're in danger getting muted if you bring up Missouri. My
point is that my point is though, Ryan, is that a 5'10" guy who's super skilled is still really a slot guy. It's really hard to put that guy out on the edge, you can't have one guy on the edge. You need 2. We're playing 4 and 5 receivers. You can't line up 4, 5, 5'9" and 5'10" guys and maybe have 1 6'3" guy.
That's Brian's point, right?
Right, and that's Brian's point. But Brian. The thing about Brian is he's super, super smart and super connected, and he knows 10,000 times more than I'll ever know about football. But he doesn't really know the Badgers that well. He doesn't know who Chris Brooks is, and he doesn't know who McIntosh are. If he looked them up, he'd say, "Oh, these are some 3-star guys that whatever got recruited a couple of years ago." But those guys could be monsters for us, and he doesn't know about them. So I understand what he's saying. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, let me pause this because I've been trying to get Logan in the chat. JB, I got to drop you, brother, so I can get some other people in here. But thank you as always, my friend. And then I want to get Kedrick on so he can answer this as well, or kick it over to him on the recruiting for the receiver front here.
Maybe.
There he is. Yes, there's Logan. All right, Kedrick, thoughts on the receiving group in this class?
So, cards on the table. I know more basketball than football, but I do like the views football brings. So, football, I think, has like the receiving front. There's I think a simple numbers problem here from the class. You brought in one wide receiver in the class. And yeah, you brought in a couple tight ends. You brought in 3 running backs, but your top 7 pass catchers by yards this season were Will Pauling, Bryson Green, 1, 2, Chimere DK, 3, he's gone. Skylar Bell, 4, he's gone. CJ Williams, Braylon Allen, 6, he's gone. Aiden Ritchie, 7, he's gone. This team's losing a lot of receiving production, and it's not that you're going to bring in a ton of wide receivers and just overhaul that room right now, right? And 2 of those guys aren't wide receivers to begin with. But there's I like just going to be a numbers problem at this position, especially when you want to play 4 wide with a tight end pretty dang often, or 3 wide, a speedy tight end, and one of your stable of young running backs in the backfield. I think just getting 1 wide receiver is a failure in terms of just like being able to get the production that you need on a year-to-year, class-to-class basis, if nothing else. I think especially because they swung and missed on so many guys too. That says, we can talk about how great it is to beat out. And this is not to take away from these wins. Emilio Agard, Xavier Lucas, great wins at defensive back. He had some awesome wins on the D line. But there's some bad losses at wide receiver too, if we are, grading the class as a whole across each part. And seems comment for Robert, Mike Brown sabotaging us this year. I don't. College football doesn't work like that. To a certain extent, right? Like everybody knows everybody. You need to be doing well at your job so that those people will recommend you to other jobs. Even if Mike Brown and Phil Longo didn't get along this year, Mike Brown isn't just not trying to do his job. You don't not try to do your job at Wisconsin and then get a job at Notre Dame.
Yeah.
So I think it was a bad class. You wait and see how they do in the next full one. You got a new position coach there. Hopefully it improves. That's about all you can do now.
Let's kick it to Logan quick, who's in the queue for a while. Logan, what are your thoughts on anything? Anywhere you want to go, man? Recruiting, basketball,
receivers. I think we could have got quite a few more if we would have put more feelers out to Wisconsin, show them what Wisconsin is.
I'm not hearing you great. I don't know if that's just me though. You guys?
I heard a couple pops in the audio, so I'm not sure. Can you repeat it, Logan?
I think we could have done better in the receiver recruiting if we would have shown potential recruits that what Wisconsin is, showing them the history, showing them all the great players that came through and played on the field at Camp Randall.
Yeah, I wonder if that's a hard part of doing that is all the transition, right? Like you talk about showing the players that used to be excellent here in that history, and then you don't have a guy on the staff that has that Wisconsin connection. Mm-hmm. I think there has to be a little bit of that where you lose some of that history and some of that tradition.
I think that's the bigger problem, right? It's a lot easier to sell what you are than what you can be. Think about, applying for a job using LinkedIn jobs. It's a lot easier to convince an employer to hire you for a job you've already done than to convince them that you can do a job that you haven't done before. This program, the goal for this season was to put on a display to convince this class of recruits, the 2025 class of recruits, that Wisconsin can be something different than what it has been. They didn't do that, at least to the extent that they wish they wanted to this season. I don't think this is an issue of not selling the program as it was. This is a problem where I think this program didn't sell the program as they hope it to be this year, as well as they thought that they could.
So I'm going to dive into this real quick and kind of give the layout of what I think was the coaching staff, the way they were looking at this for this year. They had brought so many guys in with the previous transfer cycle and with what they had coming into this. They had effectively what they thought their room was going to be when the cycle started. Kai Barry Johnson was the only guy that they were planning on taking, and then they thought that they had a shot at him. Was it Marion Stewart?
Marion Stewart.
Went to Michigan.
He was a guy that was meant to be a bonus pickup for them. And so for them, when they lost him, he was a guy we definitely wanted, but he wasn't. He was more of a bonus for the staff, so to speak. Now, what I think the issue that we're having now is we didn't have the year we were hoping to have and the development that we were hoping to have. So you kind of get caught in this catch-22 of, well, do we think these guys are capable of developing more? We've lost some guys now, so we were too late in the cycle to really look at it like, can we bring in some high-end talent still and start recruiting guys? Because most of the people, by the time you knew you had a problem, you're kind of already too late. So they're kind of in a bad spot with that. And so they almost have to strike a little bit of gold here in the portal if they don't feel like they have everyone there, and play catch up in this next cycle if they're going to do it. So now you're ahead of the game, and you have to find some pieces.
I almost think though, and Justin, I that makes a lot of sense, but I also think that's okay. Great, like they did their plan. Their plan was really just for Kyan Barry Johnson. But I still think that's a bad plan.
And that's fair. I think you probably wanted two, and you want an outside receiver, a big body, and you want somebody who can play the slot.
And really quick, Kendrick, I want you to continue on that point, but I always felt like that's partially coach speak too. And I'm not discounting that Kyan was not even number one on their board, but it's very easy after the fact to say, that's the guy we wanted. Everything else was kind of a cherry on the cake.
It wasn't so much after the fact. There was definitely buzz as it happened around Demarion Stewart that they did like Kyan Barry Johnson.
But it was that again. Is that because they knew they were? It's one of those.
No, that's yeah.
I think at the time they had a legit shot at Stewart, though.
Well, but he was trending. It felt like it just feels like coach speak at times when you say, "Oh, my kid is out in here." Yeah, I'll take you. Hold on. We'll let these guys. Can you say hi?
Hey.
Okay.
Hey, bud.
All right, you guys take over. Logan, I'm going to get Air Raid Bucky on really quick, too. I apologize, man. I didn't manage it very well, but thank you so much for dialing in.
All right, have a good night.
All right, later, brother. All right, you guys run the show for a sec. I trust you all so much.
This is fine.
Yeah, I got you, bro.
No, I don't think I would say you're 100% accurate. That I can understand what they were trying to accomplish and not necessarily agree with it. And I think we'd agree with that from a defensive line perspective too. I like the pieces that they got. I felt like they needed more there, because that is hands down over the last 5 years been a position that we've struggled greatly with in finding difference makers on the defensive line.
It's also the hardest position in the country.
100%. And that's why it's so important that you go out there and you hammer that position.
Yeah.
But yeah, wide receiver, Wisconsin needs to prove that they can get a stud into the group and do it. Until they do that. And I love Pauling, what he did this year, but there's nobody looking at what Will Pauling did this year and going, I want to be that guy. They're saying he's a nice piece. We need to find somebody who can go out there and be a 1,000-yard receiver, who can be that guy that's averaging 20 yards a catch.
Yeah, I think that also comes with finding the right quarterback.
It does, 100%.
Course, right? I think Tanner Mordecai did a lot for the program this year, and certain things that Tyler Van Dyke isn't going to be able to replicate. But like Tanner Mordecai had accuracy issues, and that certainly hurts your ability to assess is that the guy that you want to be able to replicate in the room. And maybe Will Pauling is that, maybe Bryson Green is that. I don't know. It'll be. I think this will be a really good. If we might look back on the take now, 1 year from now, that this receiving class was not good enough because they only got one. A year from now, we might be saying, no, it actually was good enough because the guys in the room are great. And we'll have more time to actually evaluate that. And I think we'll know by a year from now whether or not Kyan Barry Johnson was enough in this class.
Yeah.
Instead of in the 3-year timeline that we typically recruit classes with. I'm saying I think we'll go sooner.
I want to add on to that, but really quick, I don't know if I was gone for a sec. Air Raid Bucky, I don't know if you got a chance to jump in yet.
No, I haven't.
No, sorry.
Justin, what are you doing?
No, you're all good.
You're the one that runs the show normally. I just throw in my thoughts.
I love it. As per everybody else that jumped on the show, man, wherever you want to go with it. I kind of let this run a little long so we don't have a ton of time because I don't want to try to keep people, but whatever your big thoughts are right here. What's up, man?
No, if we're talking wide receivers, I'll just say, I saw the Bryson Green tape like everyone else did, and he just looked so electric at Oklahoma State, and we just didn't see that this year, which makes me think that, I mean, I love Tanner Mordecai. I love the grit. I love the running and all that stuff, but the arm strength, and he just couldn't throw guys open ever. We never saw it this year. And I don't know. I hope with Van Dyke we see something different. I hope we see him anticipate things and just be able to throw more. Because we saw Bryson Green do a lot of like great stuff at Oklahoma State, and it just didn't happen this year. And the potential that CJ Williams has and everyone else in that receiver room, like I think we just need to see a step next year in the passing game and see the true air raid really take place. Like I think we're gonna miss a little bit with Van Dyke in the running game. As far as Mordecai this year really had to put the team on his back sometimes to just run the ball. But I think that was just the lack of throwing power and distance that Mordecai had. He kind of had to run it himself, and it felt like they kind of just had to piece things together. And I think next year with Chesman back and Dylan Jones and these guys, I hope they can just spread the ball around more and let Dupree take those screen passes out of the backfield that you saw Braylon Allen take this year that were -2. I think he can make a guy miss and just take it to the house, man. I really think that this thing's coming together. I think this class is better than 2021. We need to throw 2021 out the window. That was 3 offensive tackles that were 5-star, high 4-star guys that were the top 3 guys in that class. Deacon Hill was a 4-star recruit in that class.
He won a division title. Put some
that's
respect
a
on
Big
that
Ten
man's name.
championship participant, Deacon Hill.
Put some respect on that.
Participant, yes. That's a good way of putting it.
We can hate on him, but hey, you know what? He went to the Big Ten championship game. But no, all jokes aside, I love this class actually. So many dudes, so much, height and ceilings that are so high. And yeah, man, I think this is going to be the class that we all look back on as those were a bunch of dudes, and that was the thing that kicked off the Luke Fickle era. So yeah, that's all I got.
I love the take, man. Thank you for dialing in.
You bet.
Next time we do it, I'll plan out my times better, and I'll do a better job, I promise. But thank you.
No, you're good. I was in and out. I got a 2-month-old, so I'm
congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, so I was trying to put him to bed, and it is a whole deal. I'm sure you understand, but yeah, I love the show, Ryan. I love all you guys, and I listen every day. I'm a UPS driver, so I got my AirPods in all day, just listening to you guys. So
nice.
Love it, and we'll catch you later.
Thank you, brother. Congratulations again. Yeah, guys, let's finish up here because again, I try not to keep people too long. The take you made, Kendrick, I think is really good. It's interesting. In a year, this could look like, yep, they only needed Kion, or no, they should have added someone else. My bigger point is why not do both? In the era that we're in, why not believe in the guys you have internally and go get some insurance? You know what I mean? I don't think you need to do one or the other necessarily.
No, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, how much do you put on the receivers and how much do you think was quarterback? Because I look at this
both
for it was both for sure, but I look at it. Is it just me, or did it seem like Mordecai really struggled with the step up in speed between Group of 5 and coming to this? Because when you look at if you break out his numbers, when he played higher level teams, he struggled for his time at SMU. And it seemed to me like he just struggled with the windows on the field and what he saw, maybe feeling like his eyes were playing tricks on him a little bit. And that's where I look at it with Van Dyke coming in, a guy who's used to seeing Power 5 windows all the time. And maybe we could argue a little bit that he hasn't always made good decisions. But one thing I will say is he's not afraid to take his shots. I will live with some turnovers if you're also going to have a guy who's going to be able to put a defense on their heels. And I think that he's definitely capable of doing that.
Yeah, I think the heart of college football today and winning college football games today is being able to create explosive plays. That comes with a certain level of risk, but the best teams in college football year over year are the teams that show a certain ability to generate explosive plays. This team was unable to do that with Tanner Mordecai. I think the speed is a good point. I think overall his accuracy outside the numbers was a really big issue for him, and you saw that from the jump from the game against Buffalo. Little curl route to the outside that they tried basically from
and
game
threw
1
into the
to
ground.
game 12. Yeah, that he can't. It's just every single time was like 1 yard shot short of where it needed to be. It's like, okay, come on. But with Tyler Van Dyke being able to chuck the ball around a little bit more, at the very least, it lands in somebody's arms. Was how I described it when the commitment came through. He's either completing it to a receiver, which he does at a high clip, or it's going to the other team. And you know what? I'm fine. So passes don't drop dead, and that's kind of what you need from this offense.
Neza says copium receivers dropped everything. We blame the veteran leader who saved the team. Drops were an issue. They were. We talked about it.
The receivers were a problem too. It wasn't just Mordecai.
That was a legitimate issue. Yeah.
Look, Tanner this is not copium, because I will die on the hill that Tanner Mordecai was saved this Wisconsin football season. Like I have gripes about him, but think about Ches Malusi goes out. Braylon Allen is Braylon Allen, hence banged up. Tanner Mordecai run game. You just think back to the game against Minnesota. The little fake draw shovel pass to Braylon Allen, the play off the play that you build towards the entire season long, and then you pull it out of the bag of tricks for your rivalry game. That's exactly what they did. That doesn't happen without the threat of Tanner Mordecai, who did that draw so well so many times during the season. And yeah, we can say QB draw is Ask Madden's favorite play. You know what? It's Tanner Mordecai's favorite play, and I'm fine with that too.
Made it work.
Yeah, made it work, and came up in the play off the play. Worked huge for this team this season. Like Tanner Mordecai has flaws, but I'm not gonna only bash him. And we'll learn more about these wide receivers with another quarterback. It's just another data point, like in a sport with a small sample size.
Let's finish on this, guys, because we're at an hour 6. And I know some people have been with us the entire time, and I feel guilty about that. But bring it back to basketball, which is why I originally got Kendrick on the show, as I diverted him and
I'm still here too.
You're the man.
Oh man!
When are they going to shut the lights off? Like
I have no. There are people.
Everything just gets shut down, and he's sitting there by himself.
there are people here cleaning for quite a long time. I was here after the game last week too, and instead of driving back home, because I wanted to be able to watch the volleyball game too and get work done, I just stayed here during the volleyball match too, and so there are people here for quite a while.
All right, so let's finish up on this. I actually thought there was some really encouraging Connor Essegian stuff tonight. A couple drives to the rim, not to mention the fact that he got a little bit more minutes, a little bit more burn. Are we going to look back at the end of the year and say, Connor, just what's your gut feel on this? He snapped out of this slump, or is this a washed year for Connor? Do you think? Not to say he can't get a little better than he was, but is he going to snap out of this slump? Do you think? What's your gut say?
I think there is the way I wrote about Connor Essegian tonight after the game is something you get from being in the arena is, and you can hear a little bit about on TV, is every time he checks into the game, he's a fan favorite. He's a very personable guy. He's very active on social media, right? So there is a lot of applause for him as he checks in. What you don't get is the air being sucked out of the room because everyone is holding their breath every time he puts up a shot, and not for bad reasons, because every time he puts up a shot, you expect it to go in. And that is the hallmark of a great shooter, is every time they put up the ball, everyone in the room expects it to go in. So that is still there, and he, isn't shooting him at the clip that he was a year ago, but he's also getting fewer minutes. I think he's ramping back up, getting back into a rhythm. He's not perfect. He had 4 second half pockets tonight. That's tough. But I don't think we're going to look at this as a wash season for him at the end of the year. I think tonight he was starting to put it together a little bit more. He had more of a leash with Greg Gard, which I think was great. Not that that's a high bar from last week, but I think there's a lot there to build on coming out of tonight that looked a lot better. He looked better tonight than he has at any other point this season. And so if the trajectory is upward, then I think that should be encouraging.
So one of the things I took away, and I don't know how you feel about this, Ryan, his handle looks better. It looks like it's a little tighter this year than it was last year for sure. I think it was a really good question, because I look at him and watching him play, and Connor is the ultimate like heat check guy, where you could see him just have a couple of games here where it just clicks and he's off and running. The thing is we haven't seen it yet. And the longer that goes, the more you start to wonder, is it going to come back? Now, I'm hopeful that it does. Like, I probably will never be out at him in this season, because he could be rough all season long. We could hit the tournament and he could just catch fire, and he could be the spark that carries them, to an Elite Eight or something like that, because he suddenly is drilling 3-4 threes a game.
That's a really good point, right? He's the type of guy who you can almost watch. He could watch for another 4 or 5 games and then come in and drill 3 threes in a 9-minute stretch and swing a game against Purdue or a game against Illinois. I gotta say, but we're about to go. I will say I've been a little more down on thinking he could come out of this. I love the fact that he went to the rack 2 or 3 times tonight, really aggressively, got fouled. He needs to add a little bit more of that to his game, because they're still closing out so hard on him. He has the ability, and he hit one shot off the closeout, right? Good pump fake, side dribble, hit the 3.
I think that's what he needs. My criticism of him after the last game was he's too one-dimensional right now. And last season, I know you guys talked a lot about he can do more getting to the hoop if he just gets a little bit stronger. But like right now, if all he is a 3-point shooter, you have plenty of guys who can shoot the ball and guys who are better defenders than him on the roster. But if he can more consistently do that, drive to the hoop, he's going to provide something extra to this team if he gets just a little bit better defensively. That this team will at some point need somebody like him to get hot, where he can go down and make 3 of 5 in a span of 6 minutes.
Yeah,
and he can do it. We're gonna wrap it there, guys. He is Kedrick over at Badger Notes, does amazing, awesome work. Obviously, you guys know Justin, Bucky Report on Wisconsin. If you guys don't hear from us, I think I'll probably do another show at some point before Christmas. But I hope everyone's having an amazing holidays. Ham, you want to say goodbye to everybody? Say goodbye.
Hey, little dude.
By the way, if everyone taking notes as a father, it is 11:44 and he's up wandering around. So I don't know.
He's waiting for Santa. The 2 looks backwards.
That's probably past bedtime for a 4-year-old, right?
Yeah.
All right, guys. If you're listening, thank you so much. And for the 2 of you guys, thank you so much for dialing in as always. You guys are amazing and great. On Wisconsin, we'll talk later.